The fires in Los Angeles are still raging at the moment, but it looks like because the winds have mostly died down and the Sunset Fire has been more or less contained, it seems like we have a pretty good assessment of what the damage is going to end up looking like. And the totality of it is like genuinely insane. This is from the Palisades neighborhood. This is just one of the fires. There was another one of great size over in Ayton as well. Just whole, like the Malibu coastline, and it's just an incomprehensible amount of damage. I think the most costly fire in American history, just on nothing. Yeah, total losses as high as 50 billion. Yeah, it's still going. Yeah, it's still going. 5 deaths is still remarkably small. Thankfully, in a modern developed country, you can usually minimize deaths in rampaging fires pretty well, because fires move very quickly, but not as quickly as floods. And then, like, you know, hurricanes or whatever. Yeah, 5 known deaths. 5 known deaths. We'll see what it ends up being. But yeah, no, this looks like, I mean, it looks like, just to use a contemporary example, Gaza. I mean, it just looks like flattened. Well, in Gaza, they probably would have actually left fewer trees standing. But you understand the point that I'm trying to make. It's just totally destroyed. And I think that one of the more sobering things, certainly for the ruling class, is the fact that a lot of the places that got burned down were wealthy people's homes. Not all of them, but a lot of them. You know, James Woods, fascist, climate denier, you know, piece of shit overall. His house got torched, you know. Man. And this is just one of the areas, too. It's still burning. Jesus. Crazy how the trees are still vibing. Well, trees hold water in them, you know? Again, it's kind of counterintuitive. This is one of the things that led people to be really conspiratorial after the Maui fires a little while back, if you'll recall. The fact that trees were standing, but the buildings were burnt down. Because it's counterintuitive, right? And people were like, oh, it's targeted lasers or something because they're mentally ill and schizophrenic and what have you. But in reality, houses are made of dry wood. Trees are made of wet wood. I mean, ideally, unless they're dead. I've seen a lot of people try to say that this is caused by arson. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Arson shouldn't like instantly destroy a significant chunk of the of one of the largest cities in the world, right? Like the underlying problem here is the climate. Like if you exist in a society where if a person commits arson and lights a backyard fire or something, you just lose $50 trillion and half the city, then it's like, okay, the arsonist should be, you know, the arsonist should be drawn and quartered, no question there. But you have you're building a city on powder kegs, and somebody's like, hey, what if you didn't do that? And you're like, well, it's fine as long as nobody lights a match. Okay, I wouldn't build my city on powder kegs. I mean, Christ. With Los Angeles, it's just... And obviously the right is loving this. I'm not even going to show you, okay? Donald Trump, Elon Musk, all of them, every single right-wing influencer, all the politicians, all of them. With basically no exceptions, are all just saying like, this is because there are black people in the fire department. It's because of wokeness. It's because of this. It's because of that. Don't get me wrong, right? Like mismanagement on the part of the Democratic governance of California and of Los Angeles County and of Los Angeles City and of, like, you know, the Palisades City. Like at every level, there are Democrats and many of them mismanage things. But like, it's a climate issue. It's just a climate issue, you know? It's just a climate issue. There's no getting around that. This is just going to keep happening over and over. Right now, do you even know? Right now, there's no water in Richmond. There's been no water for days. In Richmond, Virginia, right next to DC. There's no water because snow knocked out their water purification plant. They're on a boil water warning. They have for days. Georgia right now is getting a winter storm warning. Georgia. Like Atlanta, Georgia. Not the country, Georgia. Georgia. The warm, humid. I mean, it's not just a little bit of snow. People are worried. Apparently the low goes down to 20. Snow, ice, or rain in Atlanta in this crazy new world we live in? Who knows? Midwest got like a foot of snow. Completely shut down STL, about to get hit again. Yeah. It's only going to get worse, man. Every year. Billions and billions, and then eventually, probably within just a few years, trillions of dollars of damage every year due to climate change. Yeah, Governor Kemp has already declared a state of emergency ahead of this. Are we in the cool zone now? Yes, we are in the cool zone now. Texas is frozen over again. Texas is expected to get a year's worth of snow. Well, if you're in Texas right now, I'd be stocking up because you remember the last time snow hit Texas, right? Hopefully they've done some preparations, but given the fact that that's all run on the state grid and not the federal grid, I guess we'll see. No prep here in Texas? That's good, that's good. Pockets of snowfall from 6 to 12 inches are expected to hit north of Dallas. That's insane. Do you know what the climate is supposed to be like in Dallas, Texas? The yearly average snowfall is 1.6 inches. They're going to get 6 to 12 in one storm. My family in Maryland said schools around the capital region have been closed all week with more snow coming next week. What if we took all the fire in LA and we moved it east? What if we pushed the fire somewhere else? Would this help? Every time it snows in Texas, Reddit gets filled with dashcam footage of people who have never driven in snow before. Yeah, can you blame them? Yeah, if I lived in Texas, I probably wouldn't be taking like yearly weekend trips up to the mountains to practice driving in snow just in case or whatever. Like, you live in Texas, you know? The only driving people in Texas are supposed to do is on freeways for 2 hours a day. It snows in Texas like once a year now. Yeah, but it's not well, it's light snow maybe, but not like this. Not like this. I hope people understand how fragile a situation we're in, where a city as large and powerful as Richmond can have all of its water shut down for days because of one water treatment plant getting hit with a freak snowstorm. Guys, Richmond is right there at DC. It's like the heart of the country. It's in the DC metropolitan. It's right there. There's even a song about it. That's true. There is at least one song about Richmond, Virginia. No, it's not in the DC area at all. It's about 50 miles away. That's what I mean. Not antagonizing me. You're not getting to me. No one will be spared from this. I know you've heard this a million times before. I'm not like, I understand that I'm not hitting you with anything that's super novel or whatever, but it's like those were some wealthy areas in Los Angeles that got torched. You know, not all of it, but a lot of it. In the interest of being fair. And then you go over here, and it's like, yeah. Baltimore, Washington, Richmond, Philly, New York. Like, I guess, and I know it doesn't work this way, but I guess like in my mind, you would think there are some areas that are so important that can't happen to it. You imagine the climate crisis being, okay, so Southeast Asia gets flooded, Central America, Latin America, and then like the walls encroach and eventually you have safe zones, which are like, yeah, well, obviously it'd be like the DC, New York, like this strip of territory. You'd have like places like Texas probably are going to be fine, at least from the cold, but it's like, well, no, it's literally everywhere, You always think it'll happen over there, but that's like the bias, right? When you hear about a war breaking out on the news, it's over there. We live in America, When a war breaks out, it's over there. When like rampant inflation skyrockets and Zimbabwe is printing like $100 million bills, it happens over there. It's always over there. But it's one planet. Wait, let me zoom out to really. Yeah. Oh, I was hoping it'd be like the globe, but it's maps, not Google Earth. Sorry. I thought it would look more visually striking if I zoomed out right there. It's one planet, man. I mean, I know hippy dippy shit, but you get me. Also doxing all of you right now and myself. The crazy thing is that Virginia used to get crazy snow in the past, so the fact that they're this unprepared is sad. I don't even know if it's unpreparedness. I have a feeling that it has more to do with the severity and suddenness, Weather is difficult to plan around. In a well-ordered society, even without climate change, dealing with turbulent weather would be a significant expense. It will always be a huge part of just where the money goes. And that's normal, it's Mother Nature. But we're really making it harder for ourselves. I still couldn't believe that Sunset Fire, man. I mean, that was like right by, aren't a decent amount of the firefighters prisoners? Yes. And you know what? God bless them. Not their horrific slavery, but they did a damn good job. Those conscripted slave firefighters for California's Forest Service showed up and did their best. And considering how little they're being paid for it, I'll give them a lot of credit. Is the fire getting near any place you used to live / hang out? I mean, the Sunset Fire was right next to Hollywood. Not like Hollywood, the neighborhood, but Hollywood. So yeah, everyone in Los Angeles has been there. It's the center of Los Angeles. Any notion that they let the houses burn? No. For those of you who weren't here yesterday, there was a crazy windstorm in LA, which is the reason why the fire caught on as quickly as it did. Also, the whole area is dry as a tinderbox. The Palisades fire broke out, embers got blown everywhere and started other fires. There's only so much you can do to contain a fire that's spreading that quickly. But the threat of the Sunset Fire was so great, they pulled firefighters off of Eaton and Palisades to deal with it. The Eaton and Palisades fires are still at 0% containment, but it's unlikely they'll spread that much further. They're dealing with it slowly. They have contained the Sunset Fire. Winds returning. I have heard that winds are going to be picking up later today. I do not know what difference it'll make. I don't know if that's going to reignite any of these fires. Can't wait for the government to bail out insurance companies with people's tax. Oh, don't worry. There aren't many insurance companies doing fire protection work down here. I'm not keen on the details. My understanding is that California is the one state that doesn't allow insurance companies to use a risk assessment model in order to determine how much insurance should cost. So a lot of insurance companies decide to just not do business there because they can't do their like rate of return calculations or whatever. State Farm totally screwed people over after Hurricane Katrina. Hot take, I don't even necessarily think it's the insurance company's fault. Insurance just shouldn't exist as a concept. The problem is that like, it's one thing with medical insurance because most medical treatment is like relatively affordable, but no insurance company could ever pay an appropriate amount after damage like this. It's not compatible with climate change. It's literally not possible. There's no insurance company. It doesn't matter. Like you can say, oh, well, they should just like accept all these claims. Okay. Once all those claims come in, they'll just file for bankruptcy. They don't have the money to pay for it. And then that's that. Everyone still doesn't have their shit rebuilt, you know? Like it's not fixable. And like, it just doesn't work, you know? Housing insurance is meant to be for shit like a tree falls on your house or whatever, not like a blaze destroys 2,000 buildings in the Palisades. That's not... Okay, so they file for bankruptcy then? Yeah, but then no one gets anything. Like, then it doesn't... Like, no one gets their money. So it's like, it doesn't fix anything. It's just not a workable model. The insurance companies are still evil. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying, like, even if they weren't evil, I don't think it would change a thing. There are a lot of things that could be done to reduce the likelihood of this fire happening in the future. I don't know if they're going to be done. Oh, I do want to issue one correction, by the way, that I read online this morning. The budget for firefighters in Los Angeles County was not lowered for the budgetary period. It wasn't in the official budget because it was put in a separate fund that was doing a one-time purchase of some stuff that was being replaced. I forget the exact details, but it was out of the official budget, but the money was still there. Like it was just in a separate fund that was dealing with one-time costs. So it stayed the same? No, it increased by about 50 million if you account for the additional payments. So all the criticisms that I made with regard to the fire department budgetary cuts are invalid. I think the broader statements about like infrastructural investment are fully still applicable, but in that specific case, I was just flatly wrong. I saw the budget breakdown, but there was more information. So thanks for running up to. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I just didn't, it just wasn't like in the normal budget, but yeah, you know, cops still getting way too much though. Oh God, yes, of course. Sounds like right-wing disinformation, TBH. No, I think it's, for one, it's the fact that it was in a separate fund that just makes it like that much harder to immediately at a glance access. But also there are lots of reasons to criticize the management of like stuff like this within LA County. You know what I mean? Like it's like there are so many problems that it easily leads into that criticism as well. I guess people just don't have much reason to be charitable. Well, you were right about LAPD budget being too high. Well, I've been right about that since I was a kid. Like what besides the Clean Air Act? There's a lot. We talked about a lot of it last stream. Anyway, I guess like the takeaway from all of this, or the thing that I want to talk about, or the thing that I'll leave everyone on is everything is really bad and it's only going to get worse. This year, I'm calling it, and it's not like a difficult call to make. Like, I'm not being super brave in saying it. This year will be the most expensive year with regard to climate change disasters in American history by a enormous margin. We are literally 9 days in. We have a water shutdown in Richmond, winter storms hitting like half the country, essentially, and a record-setting like worst fire in American history in terms of like cost. It's going to be real bad. And then you'll have next year, right? So most expensive year so far. And the right loves this. All the right has done. There has not been a single shred of solution making from the right. It's just been, why aren't there more white men fighting fires? Why are there women there? Why are there black people there? Donald Trump saying that the Democrats are responsible for all this. You know that we're lucky that this fire happened now rather than in 3 weeks from now, because Donald Trump almost certainly would have denied federal aid. They want people dead. The only job of the right, the only, there are two wings of the right, and oftentimes they don't know which wing they're on. But the only two things they want, the only things they care about, the only things they believe in, the only goals they're pushing towards. One of them wants a race war, and the other one wants to convince people to focus on the race war so they don't notice that their pockets are being picked by corporations. That's it. There are the people who know they want the race war, and then there are the people who push for it as a utilitarian, like a means of distracting people from the actual battle happening. That's it. Jesus. Just totally unprecedented. They should have been watering the houses, not the lawns. God, look at that. It definitely doesn't help that a lot of these houses were old and not very fire resistant. Because it's in the Los Angeles City Council, if you suggest upzoning, they shoot you. A lot of these are just like old boomer houses, you know, bought by boomers or maybe Gen Xers for $5, and they've just been sitting on it for a while, and they don't want any changes or property, you know, like lowering the property values that you would get from time to upzone then. In LA, yes, please. Are most houses in the US made from flammable materials? In Europe, concrete and brick, etc. are common. Houses in America are basically all built with wood, especially in the West, yeah. They're all built with standard American, you know, craftsman construction, 2x4s, you know, studs spaced every 18 inches for non-load-bearing walls, 12 inches for load-bearing walls. Wood and paper. Why, though? Because those are the materials available. There aren't any big quarries near Los Angeles. Like, you could build homes in Los Angeles out of brick, but good luck when the next earthquake hits. Also, it costs an ungodly amount of money to get all those materials out there. That being said, a lot of these houses don't even have fire breaks. In Japan, fire departments demolish buildings to prevent the spread of fire in urban areas. I assume this would not fly with the public in US. That is correct. We don't really do that here. We're very individualistic. 1,000 homes. Regarding earthquakes, doesn't Japan build out of concrete as well while being the most affected by earthquakes? Yeah, but these are single-family homes. You can do the whole concrete foundations thing and make it earthquake resistant when you're building like big apartment blocks and stuff. But if you're talking about like sturdy concrete foundation, concrete first floor, and then like wood uppers, rafters, or whatever on every single family home, I mean, for one, it's just not Californian. We don't even make our houses look like that. You know, there's a lot. There's a lot. Aren't apartments illegal to build in the U.S.? Or sorry, in Los Angeles? Yes, they'll kill you if you suggest it.